Some people never change their mind, no matter what evidence comes out, no matter who they talk to, no matter what they see with their own eyes. They said what they said, and that is final. Charleston White is not supposed to be the kind of person who changes his mind. He built his entire career on saying exactly what he thinks, without apology, without caring who gets upset. He is the guy who says what everybody else is afraid to say, loud, direct, unapologetic. So when this case first broke, Charleston White had one position. Carmelo brought a knife to a track meet. Carmelo was somewhere he did not belong. Carmelo escalated everything. Carmelo was guilty. That was his position. Public, loud, confident. And then, Charleston White sat down with Carmelo Anthony's father. One conversation, and everything he said before, gone. He walked up to a camera and said words that nobody expected to ever come out of his mouth. I want to take the time to apologize to Carmelo Anthony's family. I was all wrong about that kid. Today, we are going to break down exactly what happened, why Charleston White changed, what he learned, and why this case is far more complicated than anyone on either side wants to admit.
So let me just say, since I said that, I want to take the time to apologize to Carmelo Anthony's family. Now, I was always wrong about that kid. I was always wrong about that kid.
Yeah, you just indicted.
I was always wrong about that kid. I met with his father. I've been meeting with his father regularly, and I had opportunity to talk, piece him up. He go beat these charges. I was under the impression that he brought a knife to school, so I'm taking a knife to school. Fuck him. He didn't take a knife to school. He didn't even know these two white boys. These two white boys just came over there with because he was with another kid that knew those white boys. So he a new black kid who these big old white boys, big white boys. He was a small frame kid. One of the white boys was on that side, one of the white boys on that side. So either way go, they had him locked in. And he's some big white boys.
Now, before we go any further, you need to understand who Charleston White actually is, because his reversal only means something when you understand what he normally does. Charleston White grew up in Fort Worth, Texas. He went to prison as a teenager. He came out and built a platform around one idea: accountability. Specifically, accountability in the black community. He talks about street culture, about crime, about what he believes young black men are doing wrong, and he almost never backs down from anything he says. That is not an exaggeration. His whole brand is "I said it, I meant it. Come find me if you have a problem." He has had public beef with rappers, with activists, with community leaders, with people twice his size and half his age. And through all of it, he has never been the one to walk back what he said. So when Charleston White, this specific man, looks into a camera and says he was completely wrong about a case he had already taken a public position on, that is news. That is not something that just happens with this man. And the fact that it happened because of one meeting, one conversation with one father, that tells you something about what that father must have shared. Because it was not the lawyers who changed his mind. It was not the social media debate. It was not the courtroom proceedings. It was a father sitting down and telling the truth about his son. Now let me take you back to the beginning, because a lot of people have been talking about this case for months without knowing every single detail. April 2nd, 2025, Frisco, Texas, high school track meet. It starts raining during the event. Carmelo Anthony, 17 years old, student from a different school, walks under the tent belonging to Memorial High School's track team. He is not competing that day. He is there supporting someone else. Austin Metcalf, 16 years old, athlete from Memorial, and several other students in the tent ask Carmelo to leave. According to multiple witnesses, the situation escalated quickly. Words were exchanged. Austin Metcalf physically shoved Carmelo Anthony, also grabbed his backpack, and in the moments that followed, Carmelo pulled out a knife, one stab, directly to the chest. Austin Metcalf fell backwards into his twin brother's arms. He died at the scene. Carmelo was arrested immediately. His defense team argued self-defense. He was scared, outnumbered, physically grabbed and shoved first. The prosecution argued it was an unjustified escalation. A push does not give you the right to use deadly force in Texas. The jury agreed with the prosecution. 35 years. And that verdict and everything surrounding how it was reached is where this story gets complicated.
He's like, make me move. Also grabbed his backpack. This kid, I tried to whip around as fast as I could, but I didn't see.
Now here is what most people missed. Before Charleston White changed his position, before he met Carmelo's father, he was on the other side of this completely. He was saying Carmelo brought a knife to a track meet. He was saying Carmelo was not there for any good reason. He was saying the case was straightforward. Someone died, someone went to prison. That is accountability. And that position made sense on the surface. Because when you hear the basic facts, a teenager brought a knife to a school event and stabbed someone, most people's first reaction is the same. That is wrong. That person should face consequences. But Charleston White did something that most people on social media refuse to do. He actually looked deeper. He actually talked to someone with direct knowledge of what happened. Not a lawyer doing a YouTube breakdown, not an activist pushing a narrative, not a reporter summarizing court documents. He talked to the father, the man who raised Carmelo, the man who knows his son, the man who was there through all of it, the arrest, the trial, the verdict, the sentencing. And that conversation changed everything. Charleston White said he had been meeting with the father regularly, not once, regularly, multiple conversations. And what came out of those conversations was enough to make one of the most stubborn voices on the internet completely reverse his public position.
We already got the money set aside for appeals bond. Why? All white jury, the judge and the DA are buddies, along with the dad, best friends. That's been our trump card. We've been holding, already knew that. God has spoken, and you cannot make me believe that as many gray-haired white women on that jury that's dealing with white guilt about going to heaven is not gonna have no compassion about a kid that's been straight A from the time he's ever read a book in school, has no history of violence, has saved children's lives by risking his own life by jumping in to save somebody from drowning. This kid has no violence. Austin, on the other hand, is a violent with some allegations hanging on his. That's why, man, they coerce them kids. But one thing about kids can't lie to professionals under pressure. When you was told, when you gave a statement in the beginning, you can't come back and amend it later and say, well, I meant. No, what you said that night is law. Back up right up. All them white people talking about what they gonna do, they ain't gonna do shit. If you think they're gonna find him guilty and they just put manslaughter on as a charge and it wasn't on there in the beginning, you don't know law. Yeah. We already got the money set aside for appeals bond. Why? All white jury, the judge and the DA are buddies, along with the dad, best friends. That's been our trump card. We've been holding, already knew that. But we wanted everything to play out how they had it. I can't wait till the family, we waiting on each other.
So what exactly did Charleston White learn? What did Carmelo's father tell him that flipped everything? Charleston White laid it out himself. He said Carmelo did not even know those two white boys. He was not there to start trouble with them specifically. He was there with another kid who happened to know Austin Metcalf and his group. So Carmelo was essentially a stranger who got pulled into a situation he had no history with. Then Charleston White described the physical reality of what happened. He said there was one big white boy on this side of Carmelo and another big white boy on the other side. Both of them athletes, both of them large, both of them physically imposing. Carmelo, described as a small frame kid, was essentially surrounded, one on each side, nowhere to go. Charleston White said either way he goes, they had him locked in. Now think about that picture for a second. You are 17 years old, you are small, you are at a track meet where you do not know most of these people. Two significantly larger athletes have you surrounded on both sides. One of them shoves you, one of them grabs your backpack, and you are scared. That is the picture that Carmelo's father painted for Charleston White. Not a story about a violent kid looking for trouble. A story about a scared kid who felt trapped and made a decision in a moment of panic that he cannot take back. And Charleston White, the man who spent years talking about accountability, heard that story and believed it.
I've been meeting this father regularly, and I had opportunity to talk, piece him up. He go beat these charges. I was under the impression that he brought a knife to school. So I'm taking a knife to school. Fuck it. He didn't take a knife to school. He didn't even know these two white boys. These two white boys just came over there because he was with another kid that knew those white boys. So he a new black kid who these big old white boys, big white boys. He was a small frame kid. One of the white boys was on that side, one of the white boys on that side. So either way go, they had him locked in. And these some big white boys. These are some big, violent, aggressive white boys who got guns. And not only that, the one he killed whooped their daddy. See, the daddy coming into the picture playing like he been around. The dad ain't been around. We would think the black dad ain't around. The white dad ain't around. The mother don't even identify the daddy as the husband. So he must have been an abusive father. He ain't even been in their life. So he just come and get in the light. He just come and get in the light. So he'll low down dirty. His sons are bullies. They bullied on the kid. They no, because he's black. Get him up under the chin. Man, y'all tripping. I ain't going nowhere. And they got a reputation of beating up people. The one he had to stab, he broke his daddy's ligaments. Big old strong cracker. He should have killed both of them. With a that's minding his motherfucking business, that don't bring harm to nobody. This kid ain't a bad kid. These bully white boys just fuck with the black lady. So now they trying to make it about race.
But Charleston White's reversal was not the only explosive thing to come out after this verdict. Because while people were still processing the 35-year sentence, a photo surfaced. And that photo raised questions that go far beyond whether Carmelo Anthony was guilty or innocent. The photo allegedly shows 3 people together at what appears to be a private social gathering. The judge who presided over Carmelo Anthony's trial, the district attorney who prosecuted the case, and the father of Austin Metcalf, the victim. All 3 of them, together, socially, at what a former judge described as an intimate gathering of some sort. Now, a former judge came forward specifically to address this photo, and she was very clear about what this means legally. She said when she was on the bench, if she had any personal relationship with someone connected to a case, even if it was just knowing them socially, even if they had never been to her home, even if they had just run for judge on the same ticket together, she would recuse herself automatically, without anyone asking, without a motion being filed. She would step back from the case on her own because that is what fairness requires. And what she described with this photo was something far more significant than just knowing someone casually. This appears to be a personal social relationship between the judge, the prosecutor, and the father of the victim. And if that relationship was never disclosed to Carmelo Anthony's defense team, that is not just an ethical problem. That could be the grounds for overturning this entire conviction on appeal.
Shout out to Secret Service Sam. He has released this photo, which is allegedly a photo of the father of the victim in the Carmelo Anthony case, the district attorney, and the judge. If true, this is a huge issue. Previously, I served as an associate judge, and later on, I had cases in front of other judges. When I would have those cases in front of those other judges, every last one of those judges, sua sponte, meaning without motion, recused themselves out of fairness. That's just what you do. Now, mind you, regarding those other judges, I had never been to their homes. It was nothing personal. We just knew each other socially. Some of us had run for judge together on the same ticket, but I didn't know their personal business. We had never even gone out to eat. This appears to be an intimate gathering of some sort. At a minimum, legally, you're supposed to disclose that to the other side and give the other side the option to file a motion for recusal, or the judge is supposed to sua sponte, meaning on their own motion, meaning even if no one asks, recuse themselves. So this is a huge issue. I anticipate this is likely going to be the cause of a set of motions if it was not previously disclosed to defense counsel. And I can't see defense counsel being okay with that relationship, even if it were previously disclosed, unless it was a situation where they felt like Judge Roach was the lesser of other evils, meaning the other judges that potentially this case could have been reassigned to were more trifling than Judge Roach. Head to my YouTube channel. I'm going to give you my own personal experience of being before him and why I believe that he's trifling, why I think he's one of the worst judges in Collin County. I'm going to break that down on my YouTube channel. Girl, Is That Legal on YouTube? See you guys over there.
And then there is the jury. Because the photo is not the only thing that Carmelo Anthony's supporters are pointing to when they say this trial was not fair. When that guilty verdict was read, when Carmelo Anthony was standing there crying, shaking, his defense attorney's arm around his shoulders, someone who was inside that courtroom said something that stopped a lot of people cold. They said it showed very clearly that a black boy was not allowed one black soul on that jury. All white, every single juror. And they convicted him in 2 to 3 hours. 2 to 3 hours to decide the fate of a 17-year-old boy's entire life. 35 years decided in less time than it takes to watch 2 movies. Now, an all-white jury is not automatically evidence of bias. People can argue that. People have argued that. But when you combine an all-white jury with a 2 to 3 hour deliberation with a judge who was allegedly photographed at a private gathering with the DA and the victim's father, the picture that emerges is one that makes it very difficult to say with confidence that Carmelo Anthony received a fair trial. And the community leader who spoke after the verdict was not hiding how he felt about it. He said Black America should be very upset about what happened today. He said what we saw was flawed and unjust. He said the Next Generation Action Network had already put the first $10,000 toward an appellate attorney. And the fight, in his words, was just beginning.
It showed very clearly that a black boy was allowed not one black soul on a jury. An all white jury convicted him in 2 to 3 hours. We know that they did not prove their case, but we know that the Next Generation Action Network put the first $10,000 towards an appellate attorney. And we will fight Collin County like hell. I respected this process. I allowed and called for peace in this process. But Black America should be very upset about what went on today. Now, before all of the internet lawyers and before all of the interpretation of the situation, I'm only an advocacy leader. I'm not an attorney. I can only help families be able to navigate these processes when they find themselves in this type of situation. I can only allow lawyers to be what they are, lawyers. I can't instruct them. I can't stop them from doing anything. I have to respect the process just like anybody else. But what we saw today was flawed, unjust, and I ask that the community continue to pray for the Anthony family. I do not speak for them, but I know that the Next Generation Action Network will be here as support. My heart hurts right now because an ignorance of the law was done here today. Clear. We posted the jury instructions. And right now, what we are seeing is a travesty.
On the same day that the Anthony family walked out of that courtroom crying and screaming, the district attorney of Collin County walked up to a microphone and said justice was served. Greg Willis, the DA, stood there with Austin Metcalf's parents beside him. He thanked the jury. He thanked the judge. He thanked law enforcement. He said this verdict sends a clear message. Violence like this will not be tolerated in Collin County. He praised the witnesses, the kids who testified, calling them brave for cooperating despite the trauma of what they saw. And standing there looking at that press conference and then looking at the footage of Carmelo Anthony's family walking out of that same building, you realize something. 2 completely different realities exist around this case. For one family, justice was finally served after the most unimaginable year of their lives. For another family, the system failed their son in every way it possibly could. Both of those things feel completely real to the people living them. And no press conference, no matter how confident, is going to change that. Because justice, real justice, requires that both sides believe the process was fair. And a significant portion of the people watching this case do not believe that. Not because of emotion, not because of race loyalty, but because of a photo, because of an all-white jury, because of a 2 to 3 hour deliberation, because of a former judge saying on camera that what happened here was a huge issue legally.
Good evening. I'm Greg Willis, Collin County District Attorney. Today, justice was served. A year ago, when this senseless murder unfolded, I said that it had struck a deep nerve in Collin County and far beyond. I asked our community to ignore all the noise and instead be level-headed and patient as the process worked. And today, the process delivered accountability. We are grateful to this jury, and we are grateful that the good citizens of Collin County had an opportunity to weigh in on this case. I'm proud of the exceptional work of Bill Werski and our team of prosecutors, DA investigators, and victim advocates, and all the good and outstanding men and women of the Collin County District Attorney's Office. We thank all the parents and their brave kids who did the right thing. Despite the trauma of witnessing the senseless murder at a school track meet, they cooperated fully and testified truthfully. Their courage was essential to securing justice in this case. I'm especially honored to be joined here today by Jeff and Megan Metcalf and their son Hunter. Their strength and grace through this has been their strength and grace throughout this unimaginable journey has been inspiring. They won't be taking questions at this time, but their presence here speaks volumes about their commitment to seeking justice for Austin. I want to thank Judge Rhodes for presiding over this trial with fairness and efficiency. I want to thank Frisco PD for their investigation. I want to thank the Collin County Sheriff's Office led by Sheriff Skinner for providing the security for the courthouse. I want to thank all law enforcement throughout the county for making this a safe trial for everyone. This verdict sends a clear message. Violence like this won't be tolerated in our Collin County community, and we remain committed to protecting our schools and standing with victims and their families. Thank you.
DA press conference, justice was served, thanking jury, judge, law enforcement, Austin Metcalf's family standing beside him. Place here, show the DA's version of events directly before the closing. Let the contrast speak for itself. Here is where we land. Charleston White, one of the most stubborn voices on the internet, sat down with a father who has spent the last year watching his son go through a trial that he believes was never going to be fair. And that father told Charleston White enough, showed him enough for him to walk up to a camera and say words that most people never expected to hear. I was completely wrong about that kid. Now, Charleston White changing his mind does not mean Carmelo Anthony is innocent. The jury heard the evidence. They made their decision. Austin Metcalf is still gone. His family is still living with that loss every single day, and nothing about this case, no verdict, no appeal, no social media debate brings him back. But the questions around how this verdict was reached, the photo of the judge and the DA and the victim's father together, the all-white jury that decided in 2 to 3 hours, the former judge saying on camera that this could be grounds for appeal. Those questions do not go away just because a DA stood at a microphone and said justice was served. Justice requires fairness, and fairness requires that every person, regardless of race, regardless of background, regardless of which school's tent they were standing under when it started raining, gets a trial where the system is not already tilted against them before they walk through the door. Whether Carmelo Anthony got that is the question his appellate attorneys are going to spend the next several years trying to answer. And the answer to that question matters, not just for Carmelo, not just for his family, but for every young person who watches this case and decides based on what they see whether the system is something worth believing in. Drop in the comments, do you think Charleston White was right to change his position? And do you believe Carmelo Anthony got a fair trial? The real conversation is below.